What's up, YouTube and Facebook? Blue Dooley out in my extra crowded garage. And we're going to be working on the CXT today. I'd like to hopefully get done today getting the truck bed mounted to the frame. And I'm also going to redo the front suspension down here. I got this giant lift block. I'm not really a fan of it, so I'm actually going to take some flat bar and this stuff. I'm going to make a drop bracket for the spring hangers and lower the springs down so I can hopefully not have so much block between the axle and the spring. And that's today's goals. I also have some rod, which is going to make my carrier bearing actually function. I did pick up some bearings for the truck. Hopefully that'll get that situated and get it that much closer to driving. I'm gonna have to flip the Traxxas transmission around. I tried mocking it up earlier in the week with my electronics, and the wires for the ESCs are a little too short to reach around to the front of the motor, well, where you plug the motor in. So we'll get the body off and see how we're going to mount the truck bed, because the cab's mostly done. I need to drop the fuel tanks and the air tanks down a little bit, trim my plastic inside a little, and that'll pretty much be done. So let's get going on it. Okay, got the transmission flipped around and noticed I'd forgotten to drill 2 holes. This was actually the bracket that went over here behind the spur gear, and I couldn't get the drill into it because of the slipper clutch. So when I flipped it around, I just marked it so I line up with the hole that's already there, and then the back one I just had to drill out again. And yeah, Tegan 45 turn heavy duty, a pair of them in the truck. We'll get that transmission mounted back up, and then we'll move on to the front suspension. These are metric thread hardware I got, and I don't have any metric drill bits, so I found one that's close, and these bolts hardware is hard enough I can thread it into the aluminum and it'll cut its own thread. It'll get Loctite once it's on final assembly, along with a nut on the back and a lock washer. So it's going to be real stiff when it's done, but I don't see any point in locking everything down while I keep tearing it apart and putting it back together. Plus the frame will need to be painted, so I'll have to dismantle it for that. Alright, so I'm going to use some 1/4 by 1 inch aluminum flat stock, and it is just a little bit, well, it's 1/4 of an inch bigger than the frame, because the frame rails are 3/4 inch, and it's probably a little too thick for what I'm going to do with it, but I don't have anything thinner. But basically what we're going to do, turn the truck a bit, camera here, is this mount is going to bolt to the flat stock and actually hang down below the frame rail a little bit. And then I also, because of the way I'm mounting the body, just a single post up here in the front so the chassis can flex and it won't twist the body. I'm going to actually have this extend past the frame rails a little bit, and that'll also tie into my bumper brackets when I go to build a bumper for the truck. It'd be a nice sturdy bumper, I can probably yank a lot of weight with it that way. I don't know if the truck's going to get a winch or not. It'd be nice, but it probably would be hard to find a winch scaled to the size of this truck. So yeah, we'll unbolt these, because I tried to use a front bracket to kind of level out the springs, but yeah, it binds, and I don't like it. And I don't like having this much block between the axle and the spring, because that'll just make it easier for the axle to want to twist the spring. Alright, got the body mounted back on so we can see kind of how much put that there. Alright, so this is even. I'll slide it out here. That's how much going to be. About a ½ inch to get to the front of the grill. I don't know how far out here I want to come. to mount my bumper. And say as thick as these this aluminum stock is, I could almost put a kind of round off the front of it and have it protrude through the bumper a little bit and put a big old D-ring on it. That would give me a really sturdy point. So I think we'll need, yeah, I'll just guess. I'll give myself a little more than I think I might need. And then I can always trim up the front later. There. Yep. Okay, so there you can see the two holes for the leaf spring mount. My mark's where I'm going to cut it. And that'll give me a couple of good bolt holes to bolt this thick piece to the frame. I'm going to get one side done, pull it all apart, and then just transfer everything to the other side. You could also cardboard assisted design it, but I don't have any cardboard, surprisingly, and I'm just winging it anyway, so if I make a mistake, it's on me. Alright, so the body needs to be moved up a little, well, the bed needs to be moved up a little closer to the cab. Right now it's just clamped to the back cross member. I don't know if I'm going to leave it a tilt bed or not. I left the frame rails a little long because I wasn't sure how much I needed. But I'm thinking I might just stack up the 3/4 inch channel and maybe fill in this whole piece. Because what I want is I want the bottom of the rear fenders about the same height as the front fenders. And I just discovered I'm running out of hardware to bolt things to the chassis. And of course, being in Idaho, which is like the second Bible Belt, there's nothing open on a Sunday that carries the hardware I need. So I'll have to hit Tacoma Screw probably sometime this week to get me some more hardware. So I think that's where we're going to call this for today. I'm happy with the spring mount on the front. Like I said, it protrudes a little bit out the front, which is alright because I'm thinking this is already a cut up piece, but it should give me plenty of support out front for a bumper. The aluminum sheet is actually even with the hood. The kind of flares out here, it's not quite even with. I got some sheet steel that's a little longer, and not sure what kind of bumper I'm going to give it quite yet. If I'm going to try to match a factory bumper, or if I'm going to build a like a ranch hand style bumper. I'm not sure if it's going to have a grill guard on it or not, so I'm going to toy around with that a little bit. But like I said, I'm out of hardware to bolt stuff together, so I'm kind of stuck. So I kind of hope you like where this build's headed. It's still got a lot to go on it. I'll take the body off and I'll remock up the electronics now that I switched the transmission around, so the wires will actually reach the motor. So we'll do that, and you kind of get a better idea of where this build's going. Alright, so there's half of the powertrain. I got right now a single 7-cell Venom nickel metal hydrate pack. There'll be one on this side. Basically this side will be mirrored on the other side. Spectrum 4-channel receiver. Hobbywing quick run 80 amp brushed ESC, which is what I'm running in the HPI Wheelie King. And then for power, a pair of T45 heavy duty motors from Tekin. The transmission's mounted almost like a real truck with just frame brackets. It'll go from the Traxxas Emax through a short drive shaft. This is an HPI Crawler King Wheelie King transmission. I'm actually using as kind of a drop box like a real truck would have. If you've actually seen some, I'll post a picture of a real CXT. The medium duty trucks that the CXT is based on has a straight frame rail, and the drive line actually drops down from the transfer case to run to the front axle and to the back. And you'll actually see the drive line actually almost hangs as far down below the frame rails on this as the real truck. I did discover that the real truck is leaf spring in the back and leaf spring in the front. I'll probably leave the 4-link in the back just because I don't know if I have enough hardware to do leafs front and back, and the leafs are a little bit larger pain to get right than it is to do the 4-link. The motor, I left the motor back almost so it's underneath the windshield because the hood slopes quite a bit and I wasn't sure if I'd have the clearance. But so far, I'm really happy with the way the build's going. It's been a while to get this far, but it's getting there. That, and I also needed to make sure I left enough room for my steering servo. But the grill on the truck is actually open, so when it's driving, they'll actually should get enough airflow in there. I don't have to worry about the motors overheating. The cutting board I'm using here comes up just a little behind the wheel wells, so I might build me some wheel arches just to keep mud and dust out of there. Everything is pretty much waterproof, or, well, these are waterproof. The Spectrum, I'm not sure. I don't have the axles waterproofed or full of grease. It's kind of more of a it's not going to be a hardcore basher. I am going to build a trailer for it, and once the trailer's done, it should be long enough to hold the Wheelie King and James's axial or his losi. So it'll be a really long trailer. And that's ways down the road. I'd like to get the truck up and running here in the next couple of months. It'll be drivable with just what I have. And then I can add the other motor and battery later. I'm not sure on the sound kit. Having heard some sound kits on other vehicles, they just don't sound good when you're at full throttle because there's no gear changes in the sound kit. So it just seems like you're revving the motor when on like a diesel you'd kind of lug it down a little bit. Anyways, that's where this build's headed. The weather was actually kind of cooperative this weekend. I could only work on it a little bit Saturday, a little bit this morning, until I found out I don't have enough bolts to bolt this piece to this side or make my other drop bracket. So yeah, we'll get back on it. That's this truck's update, and there's a car show at the park that I'm probably going to hit, and we'll bring you along for that. We'll catch you in the next video. Hit like and subscribe, and I hope the rest of your weekend's good.